big conversation today is the return of President Buhari to the country, and it is 15 paragraphs, very short paragraphs that he read earlier this morning. So what's the markets, first the economy and the business community think about the president while he was away, or while he was around, while he was away, and now that he's back? Let's get a bit of a step into this conversation that's already getting everybody's attention on social media over the weekend. Michael Famaroti is an economist at Vetiva Capital Management. Good morning.
Morning.
It's good to have you. So the president is back. Give us your thoughts in about 1 minute. Quickly, how do you summarize his return?
Well, it's good to have him back. I think the country has missed him. The markets have missed him. The economy has missed him. But in terms of the impact, I think it's way too soon to see any sort of real impact on the economy. I think, if anything, we might see a bit of a boost in terms of less uncertainty, as some of the calls that we were seeing from certain quarters would probably quiet down a little bit more now. I'm
just going to ask a very serious question. What really does the economy want to see and hear from the president?
Well, the first one is progress and speed. So in his absence, the acting president or the vice president did a pretty good job of stabilizing the ship. He came up with a couple of business-friendly policies as well, such as the executive orders in May. And his body language in general actually was quite positive. And what the economy is hoping for is a continuation of that. At times, especially in 2015, we saw a bit of sluggishness on the economic front, and that is precisely what we would not want a repeat of this year.
The president was present in the first quarter, but it was largely absent in the second quarter and in third quarter. Technically, we're in the middle of the third quarter, as it were. So, in terms of what the consensus really is as to while he was away, the economy soft landed, even though we're yet to have the official Q2 GDP numbers.
Well, yes. So I think most people would agree that Q2 numbers will come in positive, or at least very small negative. That said, it's very difficult to draw cause and effect. If you were to ask me if the economy would have still grown in Q2 had the president been here, I'd have probably said yes. So there are a lot of other factors, such as the improvements in the foreign exchange market, such as oil production getting back up. These are factors that are relatively related to the presidency, but would have probably been better without him anyway, or with him in charge. So I think it would be slightly harsh to sort of pin the growth that we have seen on the VP and sort of ignore the work that they've done generally so far in 2017.
So what do the PMI, the SMI, and in inflation data, what do they really mean in terms of understanding the economy, taking, well, not the person of the president, but add him to the mix, as you have said, that is the head of the team, right? So if things work out that way, what do these numbers really tell about where the economy was coming from and where it's likely heading?
Yeah, so generally, we've seen positive purchasing managers' numbers or sales managers' numbers. That does show that the economy has been improving. It is also indicative of, where we were last year, given the recession. It's a lot easier to bounce back from that sort of situation, and that's what we've really seen this year. Even if you look at inflation, yes, it's softening, it's coming down, it's about 16.1% now, but that's mainly because we have a very strong base from last year. So I think a lot of the numbers are reflective of, yes, there is some growth, but it's probably being flattered by the turmoil that we saw last year.
And if we look at policies and the economy in President Buhari returns, and you alluded a little bit to that in your earlier comments, but in terms of whether he's around or he's not around, he's been around is very important, being the CEO. How do you think things will galvanize moving forward from here?
Well, I think for me, that's one of the things that are still quite unclear. Obviously, he's back and he's the CEO, so he's in charge. The extent to which he operates as he did prior to his departure is unclear. He has had health challenges. Obviously, his return is a sign that he's ready to get back to business. But it will be interesting to see just how much the VP retains sort of influence over the fare that we have seen him partaking in the last couple of months, and how much the president actually tries to sort of retake hold of some of the economic policies that might be taking shape in the coming months.
Let's take a look at this. The president didn't say much as far as the economy was concerned today in those 15 paragraphs. Of course, it's all the newspapers and the media and all of that. So, but he did say, in part, that every Nigerian has the right to live and pursue his business anywhere in Nigeria without let or hindrance. Of course, he obviously here referred to the hate speech, and that some parts of Nigeria, some sections, should leave some other part of the country on or before certain dates later in the year. Do you think this is confidence building enough? Do you think he's here talking tough, talking to those who are, well, quote unquote, separatists in their speech and whatever? And this time around, you think that this is good for those who are a little bit jittery as to whether certain dates on calendar in the next few months will come and things may be uncomfortable for them doing business in certain parts of the country?
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think we cannot underestimate the importance of security in doing business in Nigeria, and the fact that in his first speech he took a very hard stance on that issue is very key. That said, the next step is, looking at policies and legislative ways of actually implementing ways of stopping these sort of comments and actions really that arise from these tensions, and actually creates a very bad image for the country, which, like I said, is very harmful for doing business, both as a citizen and as a foreigner coming into the country.
And further, the president went on to say this morning, and this is what he says, quote, "Our collective interest now is to eschew petty differences and come together to face common challenges of one